Good morning and welcome to the first meeting of Nithsdale Area Committee on 8th of June 2022 following the local government elections in May. And can I say welcome back to returning members and hello to any new members. I look forward to working with you over the next 5 years. I'd let you know at this point that this Area Committee meeting will be recorded in Teams and that this recording will be available online shortly after the finish of the meeting. And can I remind members to follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off the video when you're not addressing the meeting. Should you wish to contribute to any item, you should write speak in the Teams chat function, or if you're in the room, just raise your hand. And you'll be invited to speak in order about new issues. Should your question or issue be raised by a previous speaker, please withdraw your request so that we can deal with business as efficiently and swiftly as possible. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member wishes to leave the meeting for any reason, can I remind you to either leave the Teams meeting for that period of time, or you could write leave in the Teams chat function and then join. This will allow us to monitor member participation. Item number 1, the Sediment apologies, and can I ask Clerk Tracy Sonko for the Sediment apologies and which members are in the room and those linking by Microsoft Teams, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. We've got 17 members present in total, 10 present in person at Council HQ, being the Chair, Councillor Beretti, Councillor John Campbell, Councillor Dorward, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Hislop, Councillor Maureen Johnston, Councillor Lowe, Councillor Slater and Councillor Stevenson. And we've got 7 members present on Microsoft Teams, being Councillor Bell, Councillor Blake, Councillor Dempster, Councillor Malcolm Johnson, Councillor Jordan, Councillor Walters and Councillor Wood. And I've got one apology from the Vice Chair, Councillor Stitt. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. And I confirm my agreement to remote participation. So item number 2, declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest? Don't see any hands up in the room and nothing in the chat, so that's fine, we'll go on. Item 3, delegation to Nithsdale Area Committee report. Our first report is for noting following the meeting of full council on the 24th of May. We're asked to note the remit of Nithsdale Area Committee, which is set out in the scheme of administration and delegation to committees and detailed in 3.2 of the report before us. Do members have any comments? Silence came the response. Okay, I'll move to recommendations. Members are asked to note the remit of Nithsdale Area Committee as detailed in 3.2, and are members happy to note these recommendations? Thank you. Item number 4, arrangements for the administration of Dumfries and Sanker Common Good. Our next report is to agree the arrangements for the Common Good funds in Dumfries and Sanker. For clarity, I intend to go through the recommendations in sequence. So I'll ask members to consider first the Dumfries Common Good arrangements, and then we will consider the Sanker Common Good arrangements. So do members have any questions or any comments on this? Councillor Hislop?
Chair, it's just with the report, the Sanker one's going to be a separate committee set up with just the Sanker members. So I think it would be better if the borough one, Dumfries borough one, was set up in a similar way with members whose wards fall in. I think the report states that within the boundary. I think that would be a better way rather than bringing it all to an area committee. And I think the Common Good fishing should be dealt with through that committee as well, because sometimes it has to be an evening meeting to accommodate the fishery manager and members of the borough angler so that they can attend if they're working. So it might be better to have a subcommittee for that.
So you're in favour of having a Dumfries Common Good? Yeah. And I think page 10, 3.7.3, it details the members eligible to be appointed to the Dumfries one. Is this what you had in mind, Ivor? Yeah, thanks. Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. Yeah, I totally agree with Councillor Hislop. I think even if we just take 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 together, And I'll be quite happy to support that we do have the Dumfries Common Good and those elected members detailed in paragraph 3.7 are elected on that Common Good subcommittee, and that the Common Good Fisheries comes under that remit as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Campbell. Is there anyone else got any comments or any otherwise minded? Councillor Ferguson.
Sorry, wrong button. What's the quorum going to be if all 15 of us are going to be there? Because in other parts of this we're talking about 3, and that's clearly too small. Doesn't it actually say, does it?
I'm sure it is.
I think there's one, but Sanker is 3, but I'm not sure it's somewhere else. That's what I thought was 3, so
Yeah,
it's
3.
For me to have 15 members and 3 a quorum is no sufficient quorum, I would suggest.
Councillor Hislop.
Chair, we would not follow council standing orders, which I think is 25%. So 3 wouldn't be there. You'd have to have a minimum of 4 for a quorum.
Got no objections to that. Councillor Dorward.
Thanks, Chair. It's just in terms of 3.7.3, it says there are 15 members eligible. They don't all have to sit on the committee, which shifts it slightly in terms of quorum.
So what are we suggesting here? 25% would...
Sorry, Chair, 25%, there's 15 if that's a standing order.
Yeah. Anyone otherwise minded in that? Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, happy to agree with that. If that's what standing orders are saying, just go for the quorum of 4.
I'll just check with governance. Tracy?
Yeah, standing orders are 1/4 of the numbers present on each committee, but we can minute that just so that it's clear within the minute.
Thanks, Tracy. So is anyone else otherwise minded? Are we happy to go? Yes, Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, just for clarity, all 15 names at 3.7.3 are members of that subcommittee. They don't all have to attend every time, but they are all eligible to sit on that subcommittee. That's what we're agreeing. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, just with the quorum of 25%, yeah. I'll move to recommendations then to consider whether to administer the Dumfries Common Good Fund and deal with Dumfries Common Good issues via Nithsdale Area Committee, or whether to establish a delegate to the Dumfries Common Good Subcommittee. So we've agreed the Dumfries Common Good Subcommittee. Good. And agree to incorporate the administration of all Dumfries Common Good business, which includes Dumfries Common Good Fishery. Yeah. And to agree the appointment of elected members to a Dumfries Common Good subcommittee as detailed in section 3.7 on page 10. And agree to invite Community Council and Borough Anglers Association representatives onto Dumfries Common Good subcommittee as detailed in paragraph 3.8. Agree? That's fab. Now we'll go to consider whether to administer the Sanker Common Good issues via Nithsdale Area Committee or whether to establish and delegate to a Sanker Common Good subcommittee. So, any members, any views on that? Councillor Ferguson?
Chair, just to go back to that last one, there's only 2 named community councils just now, but some may be formed during the 5 years. So we need to leave that fluid so that we can invite anybody, any community council that is formed in the next 5 years to actually be invited onto that committee. And I don't think we've got that there.
I think we just
Sorry
have...
about that, I was here.
That's okay, I think we just have 2 that are formed within that, the borough, isn't it, within that at the moment. So I think we can minute that. Yeah. Ivor?
It was on the last one as well. It's silent on the Borough Anglers at paragraph 3.8. There's no mention of Borough Anglers in there, but they usually come along for the Common Good Fishing. They come and put their input there. So maybe the wording of the recommendation needs to be changed slightly because it doesn't mention them. And if you mention them as they are in 3.8, they're not there.
Yeah, they're not in the body of the report, that's right. So no, we can make sure that that's detailed then. Thank you. Councillor Dempster.
Thanks, Provost. I take it you're now finished with Dumfries Common Good, yes?
Yes, we're moving on to Sanker now, Jim.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. I would be...
You've dropped...
Seems to be an echo, Provost.
Can you repeat that again, please, Jim? Missed that.
I think there was an echo. I thought maybe somebody else was speaking. My apologies, Provost. No, I think it's quite appropriate that we follow the same pattern as Dumfries Common Good, that we establish a Common Good subcommittee. The only issue we have is that there are only 3 members, and therefore we'll always be at the minimum. And before there was an arrangement for substitutes, and it was a casual arrangement in as much as the chair invited someone to substitute for whoever would not be present, and it might be more appropriate to set up 3 members from the area committee that could substitute should a member not be present that was representing the Sanker Common Good. Dave Stitt was kind enough to act as a substitute the last time round. And I'm happy if it remains a random arrangement, delegate to the chair, or we can establish 3 substitutes that are willing to stand in appropriate. Maybe someone we could delegate to the ward officer and report back next meeting. I think that might help. But other than that, I'm absolutely happy to follow the pattern that did before and as set out in the papers. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I've just been advised that's in standing orders. I'm not sure if we need to identify extra members, but it is the Nithsdale Area Committee is the parent committee, so members from that can sit on as substitutes. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, no, that was the way before, and what I'm suggesting is that either we do that or we have 3 established so that I don't need to start, or whoever it is here doesn't need to start ringing around to see who's free. And it may be that some people are not particularly keen to serve on Sanker Common Good Subcommittee. I know standing order says substitutes are allowed. That's what we have had. That's what we've applied. I just wonder if it might be more prudent to have these volunteers identified in advance. But I'm happy to go with the paper. I'm more than content with that, Provost. Leave it to you and other members.
Thanks, Jim. I'm going to let Councillor Ferguson in just...
I think to try and be helpful here, Provost, and take it forward, normally the parent committee's chair and vice chair would be the normal stand-ins, I would suggest. Because I think standing orders allows for that, because any subcommittee formed from the parent committee that the chair and vice chair are automatically able to sit on if need be, if required. So I'd be quite happy to say, well, the chair and vice chair of the area committee should be the 2 named substitutes. That gives you 5, and it's any 3 from 5 then.
Is everyone else happy with that? Are you happy with that, Jim? If it was chair and vice chair?
Very good suggestion, Provost. I'm delighted with that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay then, so we've agreed to establish a Sanker Common Good subcommittee. Members agree with this? And to agree to invite community representatives onto the Sanker Common Good subcommittee as detailed in section 3.14 and 3.17 on page 11. That's the 3 appointed members, isn't it, as well? Yes, and
Provost, it's only 1.
Sorry, Councillor Dempster?
It's only 1 member from Sanker Community Council in an advisory capacity, and they're invited to send their delegate to the committee. That happened the last time anyway.
Yeah, that's right here, Jim, and also to include the chair and vice chair of the Nithsdale Area Committee as possible substitutes. Everyone agree with that?
Excellent.
Item number 5, Nithsdale Area Committee appointments to outside bodies. Now, for our final report today, we're being asked to agree to appoint members to outside bodies. Now, the Council appoints to outside bodies under two categories: organisations that play a strategic role and require the direct appointment or nomination of a member, or local organisations which fall within a particular ward boundary and may require the appointment of a local member in those organisations whose constitution requires that the appointment must be a local member. I think the most efficient way to proceed is if we go through the outside bodies in sequence, in line with the recommendations. But before we do, members, any comments before we go through each recommendation for appointment in turn? Nothing in the room and nothing in Teams chat, so we'll just move to recommendations. Jim went back in. Okay, then Councillor Dempster, you went back in?
Only one, Chair, and it's about the DEP. This was the Dumfries Educational Trust. This was like many trusts set up a long time ago before multi-member wards were created. And I think the language used is relating to a very local elected member rather than a regional representative. So I think we need to be careful to respect the language used in the trusts when we do that. Thanks, Provost.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, so we need to appoint one elected member to the John Paul John's Birthplace Museum Trust. Do we have any suggestion? Councillor Lowe?
This is actually in Abbey Ward, and it's something I'd be really interested in doing.
That's great. Anyone else? Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, I'm happy to nominate Councillor Lowe if that's, the proper procedure.
That's great. Councillor Lowe and Councillor Campbell. We need to appoint one elected member to the Nithsdale District Salmon Fishery Board. Do we have any takers for that one? Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, just to go back to 2.1, just in case if there's any other members that wish to put their names forward. I don't think we've established that yet.
There was nothing came from the room, Councillor Campbell, and nothing on Teams.
Thank you, Provost.
So, Nith District Salmon Fishery Board, any takers for this one? We have nothing in the room and nothing on Teams at the moment. Yeah, Councillor Charteris used to sit on that. Is there anyone with a deep interest in fishing? No fishermen in the room, no fishermen on Teams? Okay, Councillor Ferguson, thank you very much for your... Okay, we need to appoint two elected members to the Dumfries Educational Trust, as detailed in paragraph 4.3. Councillor Barretti?
Yes, I'll put my name forward.
Thank you, Councillor Barretti. Is there anyone else for the other? Because it's two members we need for this. Anyone else? Councillor Hislop?
Chair, I'd be happy to do I think it mentions Dumfries and Sankers. I'd be happy to be the Dumfries representative for that one if there's nobody else wanting to do it.
Thanks, Ivor. Councillor Dempster?
Thanks, Robert. Just the point I made earlier, the Dumfries Educational Trust, it specifically refers to Sanker. And I live in Sanker, and I think it should be a Sanker person if such a person exists in the Dumfries Educational Trust. And with greatest respect to Councillor Barretti, he respects the ward, he represents the ward, but he doesn't live in the ward. And I think it's important Dumfriesshire is covered by Dumfriesshire members if anyone's able to do that. So on that basis, I would hope that I would be allowed the opportunity to continue to work on the Dumfries Educational Trust. I have a long experience in being there already.
Thanks, Jim. I note your point, but as Councillor Barretti does represent that ward as well. So now we have three nominations. Is anyone wishing to decline or?
Provost, There's two separate appointments here within the one, isn't there? So there's one to cover the Sanker area, the Ward 7 area, and one for the borough. Ivor's one stands because there's nobody else showing an interest in that. So it's only the one for Sanker we're having a dispute or a discourse over. And so we should be suggesting at this stage that Ivor is the one for the borough because there's no other interest, or we're all happy with him going forward. So we've now got the situation about Sanker, and my reading of this is you don't have to live in Sanker, you only have to represent that ward. Maybe get some advice of the clerk for that.
Thanks, Councillor Ferguson. So I will ask Tracy for some advice. I think you're right about the Dumfries one for Ivor. I think that should stand if other members are in agreement. But it's the Sanker one. How do we do this one?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I mean, as per the report, it does say 2 members, Dumfries and Sanker. It doesn't specify that the members have to live within those areas. So I suppose we'd take forward, if we get seconders for each member that's put themselves forward, and we proceed to a vote if that's where members wish to go.
Councillor Lowe?
I'm prepared to second Councillor Barretti.
Thank you for that, Councillor Lowe. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Dempster?
I'll second Councillor Dempster.
Thanks, Councillor Dorward. So we're going to proceed to a vote.
Thanks, Chair. So we have a motion proposed by Councillor Barretti, seconded by Councillor Lowe, and that's to appoint Councillor Barretti as one of the members to the Educational Trust representing the Sanker area. An amendment proposed by Councillor Dempster, seconded by Councillor Dorward, and that's to appoint Councillor Dempster as one of the members to represent the Sanker area for the Educational Trust. Chair?
Councillor Barretti.
Councillor Bell?
Dempster.
Councillor Barretti?
Barretti. Trying to think what am I going to say. Myself.
Councillor Blake?
Councillor Dempster.
Councillor Campbell?
Motion, Councillor Barretti.
Councillor Dempster?
Amendment myself.
Councillor Dorward?
Councillor Dempster.
Councillor Ferguson?
Dempster.
Councillor Hislop?
Motion.
Councillor Malcolm Johnston?
Dempster.
Councillor Maureen Johnson?
Dempster.
Councillor Jordan?
Amendment, Councillor Dempster.
Councillor Lowe?
Councillor Barretti.
Councillor Slater?
Dempster.
Councillor Stevenson?
Councillor Dempster.
Councillor Walters?
Councillor Dempster.
And Councillor Wood?
Dempster.
And the amendment carries 12 votes to 5. Councillor Dempster has been appointed. Thank you.
Congratulations, Councillor Dempster.
Thank you very much for all this. Thanks for that. Thank you.
We move on to 5 elected members required for the George D. Grant Memorial Fund Subcommittee, as detailed in paragraph 4.4. So we have some hands. Councillor Stevenson?
Yes, I would like to sit on that subcommittee.
That's great, thank you. Councillor Hislop?
Councillor Slater has mentioned that he would be willing to sit in that, so I'm happy to move Councillor Slater.
You happy with this, Councillor Slater?
Yes, I would sit in that board.
So we have 3 more required. Oh, Councillor Jordan.
Yes, I'd be happy to sit on that.
Thank you, Councillor Jordan. So we're 2. I'm not looking at you, Andy. So is that you saying that you will go on it? It's a Tracy stared at me. I have to do it. So is that as one still? One more? Can we have someone on Teams? Anyone on Teams wishing to go on the George D. Grant Memorial Fund Subcommittee? Councillor Johnston, you? Fabulous. Councillor Mooney Johnston now. So are members happy to agree? All these? Thank you. Right, item number 8, road network management, street naming development at the former Curry's Yard, Heath Hall, Dumfries. For our final report today, we are being asked to agree street names for this development. Do we have Kevin Morrison on Teams to answer any questions?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Kevin Morrison's here.
Oh, hello, Kevin. So do you have anything you'd like to say, or are you just happy to go to any comments and questions?
No, the report is as printed and published. I've got nothing to add to it. Members are asked to agree the naming names for the development. Thank you.
Thank you. Do anyone have any comments on this? I myself understand the connection with all the names that have been proposed from that area. It took me a little while to get the Liberty Court, but I think that's to do with the sandstone, isn't it, that went to make the steps up to the Statue of Liberty. Am I correct?
Indeed, that's my understanding, yeah.
I had a little bit of a eureka moment the other day there when I thought, it just dawned on me. So no, it's fabulous. So do members have any comments at all? Are we happy to go with recommendations? As the preferred, so we've got Heath Hall Road, Curry's Avenue, Edinburgh Court, Jericho Court, Liberty Court and Catherine Field View as the preferred names for the new roads associated with this development. That's great. Thank you. So that was an easy one, Kevin.
Oh, I like them. Thank you for that.
No,
have a good day, everybody. Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you for attending. So I've got no urgent business, so that concludes the meeting. We're next scheduled to meet on Wednesday the 14th September, so can I thank you all for your contributions.